Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening,
Good
sir.
evening.
And
Good
everybody here
evening.
having you around. I want to call this meeting to order, but before we go any further, I'd like to make a comment. And that comment is the fact that there's a widespread of COVID-19 that's permeating not only our nation, but our county and our city. We pray now for the speedy recovery of our own mayor, Keisha Lance Bottom, whose family is now inundated with the coronavirus. As for me, myself, I lay to rest on Saturday the body of my cousin, 39 years old, who tested positive for the coronavirus. On Sunday, a week ago, I went out to Old National Highway because of the complaints that have been getting to my office about the kinds of crowds that were being there. And I want to tell you that those complaints did not only come from citizens, they actually came from the business owners who have businesses in that plaza. Upon my arrival, I saw hundreds of people out in parking lots, drinking, smoking, loud music, you name it, they were doing it. I went into two businesses where there was no social distancing at all. People were running amok. To me, it was a time when people could get the coronavirus. We opened the door for it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to stop. We have to stop because our own businesses have been affected and our own city is being affected. 23 potential new cases involving South Fulton employees since June the 21st, 2020. 25 employees, our employees, are awaiting testing results as of June the 3rd. 38 employees have been quarantined since June 24th, 2020. And to date, 13 City of South Fulton employees have been verified or tested positive. Atlanta last night has passed a ordinance concerning face masks. East Point has passed one. Toledo, Ohio has passed one. Athens, Georgia, the hometown of the governor, has passed one. Montgomery, Alabama has passed one. And in addition, Savannah, Georgia. We are showing an increase of 25% a week in the virus. We've had 2,100 new cases in Fulton County in the last week and 183 in the last 24 hours. 19,251 new states cases since July 1st, 9,066 total cases in Fulton County, and 6,400 COVID-19 tests performed daily. An increase of 25% a week is huge, ladies and gentlemen. And at some point in time, you just can't wait. Some point in time, you're just going to have to do what it needs to do to help the curtail. I don't want anyone to say to us, why didn't you do something? That's why we have this meeting today. This is not political. It's not personal. It's not about who gets the credit. It's not about what's happening with our small businesses, even though we know that our small businesses are in a bad shape right now. But this is about the public emergency affecting the health of our citizens and their lives. So I would ask of you today that we have an intelligent conversation. I will not sit here and argue with anybody about anything. We have an intelligent conversation, and let's progressively move. Today at 7 o'clock in the city of Fairburn, the city of Fairburn has called an emergency meeting at 7 o'clock tonight to go over this mask deal. I've talked to other mayors in South Fulton, and they are talking to their people now to come out and just do a mandatory mask ordinance. So it's just not us. We don't have no more time to be messing around. This is about public safety. We, as of right now, I'm calling this meeting under to make it a legal meeting under our charter. Our charter, section 3.18. I have verified this with not only other attorneys or other cities, but I've verified this with people who are at GMA who holds classes on this type of information. So I'm perfectly fine with the legality of calling this meeting. And I hope that you find in your heart that it's the best thing for us to do. So I wanted to make that perfectly clear. It isn't about who did it first. It's about what we're the second largest city in Fulton County. The first largest city has already taken action. And I think that we need right now to do something and stand up. It is our responsibility as elected officials to protect the health and welfare of our constituency. And that's kind of what I hope that we do today. So having said that, Madam Clerk, would you do the roll call, please?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Roll call for today, June 8th. Councilmember Baker. I know he's, okay.
I'm present. I'm present.
Okay. Councilmember Khalid.
Present.
Councilmember Reeves.
Accounted for.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Here.
Councilmember Willis. Councilmember Gumbs.
Present.
Councilmember Rao.
Present.
You also have Mayor William Edwards, the city manager, Odie Donald, and the city attorney, Emilia Walker. You have a quorum.
Okay, before we go any further, Mr. Donald, I would like for you to talk about the impact that we're having as a city.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
point of
Yes.
order. Because of what you stated prior to us taking the roll,
Yes, sir.
I just want to ask a question.
Yes, sir.
Did our legal counsel, our city attorney, state that this meeting was illegal? Because I mean, you didn't mention our attorney and whether or not she opined on whether this meeting is legal, because you mentioned that. Now I said I'm president, but I don't want to be inappropriate either. So you mentioned GMA, you mentioned other attorneys, but did our city attorney opine? How did our city attorney opine regarding this meeting? Well,
I had a letter from email from her that was at 2:03 today. Here's what she said. While section 3.18 allows the mayor and council member to convene, now that's wrong right there. It's the mayor or council people to convene and adopt emergency ordinance. It does not waive the minimum due process requirements afforded by all members, by the council, by the state law, section 3.13 of the charter. That's kind of where she is.
So does that mean, according to what she's saying,
she's falling short of saying it's an illegal meeting? So that's where we are, Mr. Baker.
So can any action be taken, I guess, given that what you're saying, like we can convene, which means we just called the roll and now we're about to convene a meeting. Can we take any action?
Yes, we can. Section 3.18 of our charter says, to meet a public emergency affecting life, health, property, or public peace, the city council may convene on call of the mayor or 4 council members and may promptly adopt an emergency ordinance. That is section 3.18 of our city charter.
Receive. Is she on this meeting currently?
Yes, she is.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, can you just speak for yourself? I didn't know you were on the meeting, because I would like to know before I participate for.
Yeah, I can. My preference would be if you would be willing to discuss this topic temporarily in a breakout room, because I do not want people, not the overall discussion, but just this limited discussion about your rights to hold this meeting. Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to give anyone who may challenge anything you do today tools to use that against you. So my preference would be to discuss this just this isolated issue with you in executive session. And if that's not your
Now, how do
preference,
you well, would this be regarding personnel, or how would we even lawfully go into an executive
Bigger,
session or
and
breakout room?
you kind of broke up.
it would
Litigation.
involve
Okay.
litigation
Well,
regarding this topic.
Okay, well, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we go into the breakout room or executive session regarding litigation, just regarding this topic.
I second it.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Councilmember Rao,
Yay.
John,
Yes.
Councilmember Willis is not here. Gilliard,
Yes.
Reeves,
Aye.
Khalid,
Yes.
Baker.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Baker. We'll go out to executive session.
We should
Did
see a
everybody
breakout.
did I vote, madam?
I'm sorry.
Did I vote? Did we vote?
Yes, you did.
Okay, good. All right, we can go into executive session.
You should see the sign up now.
On what? What are we going on? The property moved to second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I heard 4 right there. So I guess the motion carries, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir.
All right. How would you like to proceed? Does everybody have a copy of the ordinance?
It's in, the ordinance is posted in Novus.
Okay. Does everybody can see a copy of the ordinance?
Can we
And
put
I've
it on
also
the screen for the benefit of the public?
Can we do that, Madam Clerk?
Yes, just give me a moment.
I don't see the ordinance.
They're gonna put it on the screen, Ms. Gilliard.
Okay, here it comes.
All right. Madam Clerk, are you getting it up?
Yeah, I'm going. I'm getting there. Just a second. I'm having problems with my system. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Okay, that's the ordinance.
Okay, Madam Attorney. Madam Attorney,
Yes, Mayor.
you want to guide us through this?
Okay. So, Ms. White, if you could just scroll up to the language, or to where. Okay. If you can give me 1 second, I'm pulling it up on my computer too to make it bigger. Okay, so section A deals with the requirement for mask or facial coverings. So if you look at subsection A1, it says that all visitors, customers, delivery persons who enter a commercial establishment must wear a face mask. So these are people who frequent these establishments. And then in subsection 2, it says that if you are an employee or contractor or agent of an establishment and you are having a face-to-face interaction with members of the public, that you're required to wear the face mask as well. And then section B sets forth a series of exemptions, which include people in private vehicles, religious institutions, people at home.
Excuse me right there. When you say religious institution, explain that. You mean not going, exemption is to going to church?
Yes, so you do have an exemption in here for church.
Okay.
Now, I modeled this
Can I have,
from Savannah. I know that they have a religious exemption as well. But it's your discretion as to whether you keep this in here.
I don't know about
this
everybody.
is Councilwoman Rao. That one is interesting to me because I mean, just what we've known about during this pandemic, that's been a source where there has been spread. Do you foresee anything if we take it out that there would be a problem with omitting that?
I think there's not a problem omitting it. I think the reason it was put in there is because you sometimes have to pick and choose your battles.
Mm-hmm.
And we do know historically that to be a group who is willing to, fight you on it. Now, do I think that you have legitimate reasons to include religious institutions above and beyond just focusing on their religion? Absolutely, based on the reason that you just provided, that we are seeing frequent outbursts in church environments. So I do think that you have legitimate reasons to remove that restriction, but it's your preference. Just knowing that.
Madam Attorney, I'm uncomfortable. I mean, that's some of your biggest gatherings that you have is in church. And we've had evidence all over the country where that has been a problem in transmission of COVID-19. I just don't feel comfortable with it being an exemption.
Mayor.
Yes.
So looking at all of the other ordinances that have just recently been passed, in Doraville just tonight, they have kept that piece in there as far as for the churches, just to protect, the city and, the liabilities against, as our city attorney has mentioned, the religious freedoms of, people that congregate to church. So I don't necessarily think that we should pull that out per se, because again, I think that would get us in a whole lot of legal.
Well, there's no motion to do so, Madam Attorney. You can go on.
Okay, so these are the list of exemptions. So I think you would just need to pay close attention to these and see if there's any additional you'd like to add, or if these are sufficient. And then you have your enforcement provision, which the first time that you are caught violating the ordinance, you're just given a warning. And then to the extent that resources are available, you can be provided with a mask as well. And that if you're caught a second time, then you will be subject to a $100 fine, with each day being constituting a separate violation.
Oh, Madam Attorney, let me just ask one question. Because I would want the mask to be a blanket thing that everybody's got to have one on. I kind of thought about this. If you're in a group of more than 10 or more, that is required that you have the mask. But if I'm walking down the street with my significant other, whoever the case may be, I don't want to be stopped and harassed by police in terms of not having a mask on. That's just I see Mr. Meadows is here. You want to respond to that, Chief?
Well, yeah, we want to be careful not to over-police the community with this issue. That's one of the things that concerned me the most about the ordinance, making sure that we had adequate resources available for our citizens when we encounter the ones without masks. But I like the idea of 10 or more people in a gathering. We certainly don't want to have police officers approaching people as jogging down the street or exercising that don't have masks on. A person under those circumstances would pass out if they were running with a mask. So we just need to make sure that we're real thoughtful in our approach to the enforcement aspects of it, so that we can kind of use it more as an educational opportunity.
So that's the recommendation, Madam Attorney, that I would like to make.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead. Let me get from the attorney. I get you, Ms. Gilliard.
Okay.
So if you look at item 6 under subsection B.
Wait a minute,
There
hold up. Item number 6, okay.
Yeah, so there is an exemption here for people who are working, who are outdoors engaging in physical fitness type activities. What I could do is, if this will satisfy your concern, I can put language in here that says that if you are outdoors and only within distance of 10 or less people who are related to you by blood or marriage, or I can say who reside with you, if you'd prefer that. And then that way, that would include a restriction. It would allow people, if they're outdoors, to be around people who they live with without having to wear a mask.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying. I wasn't concerned about who we live with. You don't think that any gathering of 10 or more should wear a mask, but if you're with 10 or less people, they could be your friends. I'm trying to see the tie-in with the relative issue.
I guess because mostly they'll be living in the same household anyway, and that
Okay,
exposure is always going to be there.
okay. If Mr. Gill, I haven't forgotten you. That is kind of what, I don't know how you all feel about it, but I just think that I don't want Tom Jones to be walking down the street without a mask, and a police officer comes up to him and says, "Where's your mask?" And he wants to cite him or whatever the case may be. I don't think that that's fair.
I mean,
Mayor.
Okay, y'all go ahead.
I hear you, but let me just give you my concern.
Okay.
I don't go out that often, and when I do, it's to a supermarket.
Right.
And it really blows my mind to see how many people in a supermarket are walking around without a mask on.
Right.
And so we can't regulate supermarkets and even if you're going somewhere to pick up food or whatever, there are too many people that are just not doing it. And so putting in the 10 people in a group, that's okay. But I think some education needs to occur. And I think we need to do a little bit more, and not to say that we have not done a pretty good job of trying to educate people, but we need to give them constant facts, numbers, even if it relates to the rest of the country, where we are in the world, as a country that is number one now, with all of the deaths and all of the cases. And so there needs to be an education piece to this.
Ms. Gill,
I tell you,
may I speak?
hold on.
Yeah. I'll yield.
Go ahead, Ms. Gomes.
So the education piece, we've been going through this since March. I think at this point in time, we have made arrangements. We've done everything to pretty much keep our community safe, and our numbers are still rising. Unfortunately, it is sad that the government has to come in, the local government, to come in and say, hey, now you are mandated to wear your mask. But that is the only way that we could possibly get any control over the situation. Listening to the residents, over 400 of them have said overwhelmingly that they want to have mask mandated. And we need to figure out, I think we're getting into the weeds of all of this, and just pretty much say that we need to go ahead and mandate it. Now I get the part about the businesses, but we need to start putting people on notice, not necessarily over-fining them or doing anything of that nature, but this is a serious matter, and it's not going to really change a person's perspective unless it is impacting or it hits them at home. So it's time for us to do something, and us sitting here going back and forth for what it is that we're going to do, it's not helping. They've had education. They have. We send out emails twice a day. We do town hall meetings. We talk about COVID-19 24/7. We share the numbers. Nothing is not going to change.
I agree.
Unless we mandate for people to change.
Okay, so can we just deal with the issue right now? I made a suggestion Is it something that you all want to embrace in terms of the 10 people in a group?
So are you saying that 10 people in a group don't have to have masks on if they know each other?
What we're saying is, if you and I were out with 7 other people, we're saying that we would not get cited. But if we were with 10 or more, we would.
Oh,
No.
Hey,
I'm
Mayor.
concerned.
I don't
I'm
think that's
concerned
fair.
because you can get sick with 2 people. It's the
Exactly.
reality.
Okay, I'm just a suggestion. I just don't want, and we
It's
discussed
true.
it with the police department. I just didn't want. I want us to be clear. To pick a blanket policy on everybody to wear a mask, might be something to consider. Okay, well, we won't do.
Mr.
Well, we have
Mayor.
exemption.
If we're not going to subject them to wear a mask, then what are we doing?
Someone I heard Mr. Khalid or Mr. Baker won.
It's Khalid. I'm also using the queue. I don't know if we're using the Novus queue.
Yeah, I'm in the queue too.
Okay, let me go to. I'm in the queue, Mr. Khalid.
Oh, so am I? All right. So perhaps as a middle ground, I would offer 4 or more. So groups of 3 or less might be exempt. I do think that it's important. Like, I went jogging in my neighborhood today by myself, and I didn't have a mask on. I was by myself in the open air in my neighborhood. I wouldn't want to get ticketed for jogging. So perhaps any groups of 4 or more might be a compromise, or or even if we just say the exemption is for someone exercising alone outdoors. Would people be open to that?
Well, number 6, attorney, does it speak to that?
Yes, Mayor, and I think number 6 will resolve all your concerns if we delete the word physical fitness. And we put persons engaged in outdoor activities are exempt, provided they maintain a 6-foot distance from persons with whom they do not cohabitate.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So an outdoor activity could be a picnic.
Yeah, it can be anything that's outdoors as long as you stay away at least 6 feet away from anyone who you don't live with.
So that's an exemption, meaning that they don't have to wear a mask if they're outdoors. But if they're having a birthday party in the park, how would that?
It would still apply. If they're outdoors anywhere, if they are not at a minimum 6 feet from people who they don't cohabitate with, then they would not be exempt.
I have a comment.
Let me get her question answered. And I'm also in the queue now, Ms. Gilliard. The queue's
Okay,
open.
I'm not in there.
Okay, go ahead. You can finish, Ms. Guns.
No, I'm finished. It doesn't make sense.
All right.
So I don't know whether you know it or not, but on MSNBC yesterday, they were talking about the latest thing now is that it is more airborne than they thought it was, and that 6 feet distance that they are extending now,
10 feet.
not 12 feet, but 30 feet they extended it to, because they're saying that even in outdoors that it has the ability to go further than they thought that it would. So they're talking about now how it is mutating and changing in all different ways. And so I'm not too sure that number 6 should be in there as an exemption.
Well, the thing that's on the floor, the attorney recommended that we take out physical. Maybe a comment, Ms. White. I think we're hearing you in the background.
So I just
What
wanted
is
to
it?
throw that out.
What is the conversation on that? If we take out the words physical fitness activity. Chief Meadows?
I'm not a fan of number 6.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, Mayor, I was wondering, did we put a provision in there where businesses can be cited for serving people without masks?
Okay.
Oh, that's a good one.
I do that one, but I'm trying to get number 6. I'm trying to get a consensus on number 6.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but that's right. But that's a good one.
Yeah.
So Ms. Gums is not for number 6.
Neither am I.
Ms. Gums?
No, I'm not.
I'm not for it either.
I'm okay if it keeps outdoor and keeping the 6 feet distance, but not just a blanket one, because I think what Councilwoman Gums said is correct. You'll have birthday parties in the park, and it'll be a loophole. But I think exercise is clearly exercise. So
Okay.
if anything, I would leave it the way it is, but all, which speaks to they still have to be 6 feet apart.
Madam Attorney. Madam
Yeah, so
Attorney,
it's part,
in
yeah.
view of our earlier conversation, issues like this, can they be voted on to change
Yes,
the?
anything that you don't have a clear consensus on can be voted on one by one.
Okay.
But I would wait until Friday to give people time to think as to what that consensus is going to be.
So it sounds like a straw poll that we kind of seem like we might need to revisit this language, and maybe you can look at it and bring it back to us on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So why don't we do that? Because that's what you're saying. That makes the more sense. And then we can modify it or change whatever we want on that day.
Correct.
But we can't. Based on what you're telling us, we can't really do anything.
Well, you can, when because my understanding is you guys are going to revisit this for finality on Friday, and at that point, it would give you the opportunity to talk amongst each other, and also to just come, look at the list in further detail, just to figure out what on here you like or don't like. Well, and then anything that people feel strongly about, then on Friday you can vote it up or down.
My understanding from Ms. Rao's comments was that we'll go ahead and go through this thing, and Friday we take 5 minutes and vote. Am I wrong, Ms. Rao?
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, that was my suggestion. I think it sounds like we from what I heard, we should leave it at that restriction on outdoor physical activity as opposed to making it blanket. With somebody working out.
That's what I'm saying is that if our officers are seeing somebody working out, I mean, we're allowing them to use their discretion in that. So I don't even understand why that's in there. But
well, here's my issue. Based on what Ms. Rao says, we either can keep it in here or take it out based on a vote. The attorney says we can vote on issues in the ordinance. Am I correct?
Not until you
Friday. She's saying just getting consensus.
Present.
It sounds like the majority of, if not, I could be wrong, that we're general consensus, although we're not voting, is that it should be restricted to physical activity and not just a blanket, people in the park.
I don't think
so. Like leaving it the way it is right now as written.
Well,
yeah, right now you have to be engaged in physical fitness.
If that's the case and that's the rule we're going to be following, why are we doing what we're doing now?
Good question.
Because,
and maybe there's some different language you can bring back to us in regards to the number 6.
Well, I think we should let her know what language it should be, Ms. Gums. This is where I'm confused at.
Yeah, it sounds like some of you would like to give people the opportunity to freely exercise. And it sounds like some of you, even if you're exercising, they want you to maybe still wear a mask, and it sounds like some of
But
you don't have to
that
wear a
takes a
mask.
vote. That takes a vote.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, so but you're saying we should wait till Friday. And I'm saying if we
Yes.
wait till Friday, we might as well just wait.
Well, we're
Agreed.
almost there, Mayor. I just think we're almost through the ordinance. I think if we could just figure this one out, this is where we seem to be stuck.
Okay, well, I still don't, well, it is what it is. It hasn't changed.
I'm okay with it as it is. I don't know where other people, you know, I love to hear from
I'm not.
Okay.
So maybe we can do, maybe we'll have another number so we can address the physical activity, and then we can also have a number 7 that will address the outdoor activities. I don't know.
Yeah, that's an option. That's certainly an option.
It's kind of breaking them up.
Well, we can do what we want to do. I still don't think that we're following the mandates that Ms. Rao said at first, but it's up to you all. So you want to continue then? Because I mean, I don't have any consensus. I don't have a vote. I don't have anything.
Well, I think we've made it through an overview, so I think it's just a matter now of
Fine.
guys just giving this, further thought over the next 48 hours and looking at it. I know some people just received it today, and then making a decision, an affirmative decision on Friday, and then the public having the opportunity to have notice, at least through your conversation today, that this is coming.
Okay, Mr. Meadows, you want to say something?
Yes, sir. I was basically saying if there was a possibility for us to put a provision in there that allowed us to charge or cite businesses that were serving people without a mask, that would be extremely helpful in terms of the enforcement piece of it. And I'm not talking about folks just sitting down eating in a restaurant. It's kind of hard to eat with a mask on, but certainly if they have it readily available while they're not eating, or if they're in the grocery store or if they're in other businesses, it would be more effective if we were able to deal with it from the business aspects of it.
Any comments?
Can you share exactly why you think it would be more successful to deal with it through the businesses?
Well, because the businesses will actually do all of the work for you. They won't serve the people, and they'll wind up, a lot of businesses right now are distributing masks. And so that'll help in terms of saving. It will help in terms of saving some of the resources that we have internally within the city if the businesses are distributing masks to a lot of their patrons and so forth, because they want to make money too. And so if they're doing that, then it helps, not only educate, but also to distribute resources to people. And obviously we don't want our business managers serving people without masks on, because that's, grocery stores can serve as like super spreaders or Walmart because of the amount of people that come through there over the course of a day.
Understood. Mayor, if I may.
You go ahead.
One of the concerns that I am noticing is that a lot of the businesses, they are giving out masks and they're selling them for astronomical prices. And I think that also kind of does us a disservice as well, because people are going to start saying that they can't afford it because, maybe a $2 mask is now $9.99 that some of these businesses are selling. So we're running into issues with these price gouging that is starting to become a concern as well. So I don't know how.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Ms. Gum, did I cut you off?
No, well, and that's one of the concerns. And then before we go any further, number 9, where it says persons 10 years of age or younger.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if that came exactly out of the Savannah ordinance.
Yes, Savannah did have an age restriction.
And it was 10?
Correct.
Okay. But it's not saying that children 2 years and up should have a mask on.
No, so it's saying that if you're 10 years old or younger, you do not have to wear a mask.
You sure Savannah says 10 or 2?
Yeah, because I was thinking it was 2.
I thought it was 2 as well.
I think
You know,
it's 2.
it could be 2.
10
Hold on,
doesn't-
I have Savannah's in front of me. Give me
That's
one
the
second.
CDC guidelines is 2, I think.
Ms. Khalid, I do hear you. I'll get right to you.
Thank you.
Okay, here it goes. Let's see, Savannah. Savannah is 10 years.
Mm.
I thought it was 2.
So
I think-
that must be the CDC guidelines.
Guidelines
for 2.
is 2. Yeah, CDC guidelines are definitely 2.
Now, I will tell you this. I have a 3-year-old, and the first 10 minutes she'll wear her mask, but she will not keep it on. Like, I would literally have to forcefully restrain her to keep it on past 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. I think East Point says 2.
I think this is
that's
part
what
of,
we look at.
Yeah. I think
Maybe
too.
school
is-
age. Maybe look at school age and above. And I also, what does this have like for cities or schools that are operating in our jurisdictions?
Absolutely.
That's a question for me. I do hope the Fulton County School Board reconsiders, but there's no requirement right now for students to wear masks.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Mm.
So your ordinance wouldn't
So
be
if
applicable to schools?
It would not.
It would not, because it's applicable to what the chief wanted. It's actually already in here. It restricts managers, supervisors, and owners of commercial establishments from interacting with the public without a mask. So that's already in here, subsection A2. But then it restricts people entering into commercial establishments from not wearing masks if they're visitors, guests, customers. And a school is not a commercial establishment, so this wouldn't be applicable.
But it doesn't necessarily give you the ability to find the business if they serve
does.
someone. Oh, it does.
It says, so subsection A2 makes it, let me pull it back up because I went to Savannah. Give me 1 second.
And I got Mr. Khalid holding. I need to acknowledge him.
Yeah, so subsection A2 says that it is, it says all owners, managers, and supervisors must require the establishment's employees, contractors, and agents to wear a face covering while having face-to-face interactions. So if you go into a business and you see that they are not requiring that of their employees, then you have the option to cite the owner, the manager, or the supervisor.
Got that, Chief?
Yeah, but what about the patron? If they tell a patron, we cannot serve you without you putting a mask on or having a mask, and they actually complete the transaction, then would that then be a violation based on
Yes,
the ordinance?
so subsection 2 would give you the ability to cite the owner, the manager, or the supervisor. And if you have a customer who's just non-compliant and they're not going to put it in, then subsection 1 would give you the ability to cite the customer.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Khalid. Mr. Khalid. Yes. Are you there, Mr. Khalid?
Yes, I'm here. I'm sorry.
Okay. Go ahead.
I had a separate thing I wanted to inquire about, and that was with the cell phone law. There was when we passed this law about cell phones, about not having being able to touch your cell phone while you're causing motion. I'm sorry. One of the things one of the provisions of the law stated that if you had a ticket and you were you brought a receipt that you had bought the appropriate like device to hold your cell phone to court, that in lieu of paying the fine, if you had proven that you had bought some sort of hands-free device, that the fine could be waived. I was wondering if for the second instance where we actually start levying fines, if people were to come to court with a test with a proof of taking a COVID test, that might that we might be able to add that in as just another a step of alleviating, because the goal is actually obviously to get people tested. And I'm wondering just how my colleagues feel about that.
Well, I think you're right in terms of the goal, because this can't be revenue driven, because we just want everybody to make sure that everyone is safe and everyone is tested. So anything we can do to relax the fine deal is the best thing to do, I think.
So I would like to propose that I don't, the language I would leave to the attorney, but just something to the fact that in the first occurrence of a fine, if they come to court with a receipt of a COVID test, that we would waive that first occurrence of a fine.
Okay, duly noted. That's all you can do at this stage. Madam Attorney, you have that? Madam Attorney.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor. I was on mute. I have that.
Okay, good. All right. Madam Attorney, go ahead. Where we are next? And we talked about.
So that's pretty much the gist of it. The duration. You can set that when you finalize this on Friday. You would just need to determine what the effective date would be. At what point, you would start enforcing this.
And for the edification of the public, the fine that we're suggesting is $100 per violation.
Correct. That's where it's currently at. You can go up to 1,000, but it's currently at 100.
And there will be a warning first on the first violation.
Correct. You would give a warning for the first violation. And I'll tell you too what Savannah set their fine at. I think theirs is 500.
Yes.
Yeah, Savannah set theirs at 500, so yours is substantially less than Savannah.
I think each point is about 50.
So are we making provisions to provide masks for the public?
So that has actually been something that was requested, and that's why I have that in here. But it's your discretion as to whether or not, and I did put language, it's subject to resources being available to do that.
Mr. Donald, you want to?
I don't think we should take that. I don't think we should take that on. I think if we in our individual capacities want to allocate resources, maybe from our district, our city resource, we're going to try to make sure the public who comes in whenever we open our facilities and our employees are safe. But literally, you can get them at a supply store now.
Mr. Donald, you want to weigh in on that?
Not at this time, sir.
Okay, good. All right, go ahead, Madam Attorney.
So that's pretty much it, Mayor. That's the gist of it. You guys have covered all 4 sections.
Okay, so we covered 4 sections, made no recommendations and no consensus votes on anything, right? So let me ask you this: come Friday, are we going to go through all this again?
You shouldn't. You've made a lot of progress today. You've discussed it. I don't anticipate, unless someone just has major issues that you guys that require your attention and discussion. I don't foresee the need for a particularly long meeting.
Anyone else? there anyone else
I
need to
make a
speak?
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Properly moved and second in discussion. I have one. I'm just concerned the timeliness of what we could have done as opposed to what we did do. I think that COVID-19 and the back end occurrences is real. And I know you're talking about 2 days, and I think that's fine, but people are dying at a 25% increase a day. And we need to be very, very committed to our vow, to our commitment to protect the citizenry of this city. Okay? Anybody else? Okay, have no objection. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ralph.
Okay. All right. Thank you all for being here.
Fulton forever.